Welcome back to the channel, friends. We're going to do another tutorial video, this time a serious one. And we are going to go behind the scenes on how I make the art for my RoboCast series. Now, the morons among you are going to be like, that's not art, and you're not a real artist. I don't give a shit. Like, go find some other channel. You're wasting your breath. You're wasting all of our time, all of our air. For everyone else that's interested in the process, that's what I'm going to show you today. So to begin with, I'm going to share with you like the process, the evolution, I would say, of this art and how it worked. So I started with this piece right here, and this came from a lot of iterations. And then from this, I have made further iterations to put our characters in different scenarios. So, for example, I put them in a coffee shop, um, and then over the course of the episodes that week, I had things piling up because it was ADHD week. So you can see their table gets more and more covered. And then we moved to this kind of environment, which was fun. We also did a work from home episode, or a series of episodes, so I kind of like made it look like it was a webcam kind of look. Let's see, there was also the investigative ones like this when I investigated Elon Musk and his fuckery. There's the religion one, that was fun, where I made our characters look more conservative. There's also the conspiracy board one, which I did a similar thing. I started out with our characters sitting like this, and then I had the boxes of evidence piling up as the days of the week passed by until there was just a lot of boxes. So today we're gonna do one about AI art because I'm gonna do a week of videos about AI art. So the question is, what are we going to create? Now, I've thought about this. I've spent some time thinking about this, but this is going to be a long play video, which means you are going to get right in there with me the whole process, and it's going to be probably a longer video because of that. But I want anyone who's interested in doing this to be able to see all the decisions that I'm making and things I'm thinking about as I do this, and hopefully that will help you become a better artist or help you better understand how to do this. So the tool we're using is called Pinocchio, specifically Forge, which is a local image generation software. So for the people who are like, what about the environmental impact of AI art? Well, this is using the same amount of power as gaming would use. So you can think of it that way. And since I'm spending less time making art, I'm probably saving the environment more because I'm using the computer less. So let's see here. What we're going to do probably is start with one of my existing images. So what you have along the top here are different like dashboards that have different configurations and controls. This one that we're on right now is text to image. But we're going to go to image because we're going to start with one of the prior pieces that I made. Because if you think about it like this, the underlying image that you start with when you're generating a new image, it can be thought of as like the pattern of the static. So if the static looks a certain way, you can kind of coax the final result to be a certain way. So I think maybe I'll start with this one, the RoboCast Investigates one. Maybe. I have to think about like what kind of like color scheme do I want to have, and that might affect which starter image I use. So if I'm gonna make one about AI art, I've thought about like putting them in an art studio or like a gallery of some kind. What if it was like a gallery with robots like doing paintings or something like that? That could be fun. Let's just try that idea and see if we like end up anywhere fun. So we're gonna start with let's just start with like pardon me. Um, let's just start with a complete image to image to see if we come up with anything funny or fun, knowing that um, it's gonna override their faces, and I want to keep the continuity of the faces. So maybe I will actually start with an in paint. So we'll get our image here. We'll put it in the in paint tab. And the way in painting works, you can do in paint the mask or in paint the not masked. So in this case, we're going to mask their faces. And the thing I've learned about in painting, well, I've learned a lot of things about in painting. It's quite tricky at times, but I kind of try to stay more or less close to the edge of what I'm in painting. And there's a mask blur of 4 pixels you can see. So that means like the area that's going to get affected is going to be 4 pixels around what I'm painting right now. And you can think of that like in Photoshop and similar tools, they'll have like a selection blur around your selection or like a number of pixels around your selection. So that's kind of pretty similar here. We'll go ahead and keep like the ear consistent. As far as the hair, yeah, let's just keep the hair consistent for now. I can always change it later. Everything is subject to change, so I have to just kind of like decide what I want to keep and what I want to change. And we'll change the clothing too. All right. And for our other podcaster, we will we'll keep her face and like part of her hair, and we'll let the system. We'll see what spits out for the rest of her hair. And I've been wanting to fix this chin thing, so maybe this is where we're gonna fix the chin issue. Okay. Actually, I will keep this part of her mouth and chin, and maybe some part of the hair too. Now, the other thing I've noticed about in painting is sometimes you can see the seam of where you're in painting. So you kind of have to think about like making your in painting selection correspond somewhat to what's going on in what you're in painting. So that's why sometimes it can work out better. So I'm going to pick like some of the spots where the hair um, naturally goes. That way, if there is a seam, it's going to be less visible or easier to touch up after the fact. Okay, everything else I'm going to keep the same. So now we're going to get to writing. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to think about this for a second. Two professional podcasters um, with microphones in front of them, seated in a luxurious art gallery. Okay. Um, the gallery is full of bipedal robots painting at canvases. Um, each robot is covered with spatters of paint. Um, podcasters are seated at a long desk and holding pens. Let's see. The male podcaster is wearing. What should he be wearing? Should I go like the obvious route, like art smock or something like that, or do I do something more professional? What about like a black collared shirt, uh, black collared shirt. Um, oh, let's do a turtleneck, black turtleneck. The female podcaster is wearing. Let's have her also wearing a black turtleneck. That would be fun. Um, so they're gonna wear black turtlenecks. Let's see here. We'll do the logo later. We'll figure out some creative way to put it in. Let's see what comes out there. So next we need to make sure we've got our resolution the right size. So we're gonna go 1080p. We also need so we've got our seed at -1, which means we're gonna get a random seed. -1. And then our denoise strength right now is set to 0.75. So that means, I guess the way you could think of it is if it was all the way at 1, then it would only very loosely take the pixel data that we have here in the unmasked area. Um, but if I slid the slider all the way down to like 0.1, then it would more strongly use the pixel data that we're starting with here. So we're going to use 0.75 to start. And actually, I'm going to use Flux Realistic. Is this the one I want to use? Full model. Let's try this one. We'll see how it goes, and if we need to switch model, we might. But there's like 2 main models I think that would be good for this. All right. Now we're going to generate, and this is part of the process, and it's just called waiting. Now I have to think about what to say while we wait. I think it's just important for you to see how long it takes to generate one image locally. I'm running a 4070 Ti video card, which is not necessarily the top of the line, but it's still good enough for this kind of thing. And also generating 1080p images, it's going to take a little bit longer. Whenever I'm just like testing things out, a lot of times I'll just do 1024 by 1024. But in this case, we want that full 1080p size because it's going to be artwork that goes on the episode. And then we'll do a crop in for the thumbnail. Pardon me while I yawn. Look at this. Look at this first result. This is great. It doesn't look anything like I was imagining. Okay, so it looks like what it did was it put it on the picture frame in the background because we're starting with an image that has a picture behind them. So because we're doing 0.75, it takes the starting image as the a starting point and it's not deviating enough from that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pick an image that I've done that has more depth to it. Let's just do this one. Let's do the church one. And that means I'm going to have to redo, uh, let's see, I'll probably, um, I'll probably keep their, let me redo the mask. So we'll start with just like we'll just keep their faces consistent. Alright. Because I added this beard and stuff just for that one episode. Maybe I'll give them like him like a hipster beard or something. And then we'll just keep her face, and I'll tell the model to give her some blue hair. All right. So the female podcaster is wearing a black turtleneck and has long blue hair. Let's give the male podcaster white hair. Okay. Now, if you noticed in the previous image we generated, it didn't give us the black turtlenecks. It did give her something kind of like a turtleneck, but not really. And that again also had to do with like we weren't denoising all the way up. We were only at 0.75. So for this one, I'm actually going to crank the denoising up like much higher. We'll go to 0.9. So that means it's only going to be very, very loosely using the pixel data that's here. So let's just generate another one and see what comes out. I like these dancing robots here on the right. That's funny. I don't see how they're like, I don't see how they're necessarily creating art though. Doesn't come through in the image. See, people who have never done this before think you just type in prompt and get image out and it's over. But that's not at all the case. You have to really coerce the model to give you what you want. So it's a patience game, definitely. Okay, we're a little closer, but look how jacked up our characters look. Actually, this is interesting. This might be an interesting. All right, so as you can see, we got some kind of Frankenstein monster here. This is great, but it's in the general realm. See, you'll see when this is finished. what is what happened to his face? And she's just got a floating face out here. But it's funny, we got the robots here and they're like holding up pieces of artwork and I don't know what's going on here, but it looks like we're doing artwork on the table. That's kind of funny. All right. So that one didn't work. But maybe if we generate a few more, it will keep their faces. Let's bring down the denoising by 0.05 and let's generate 10 of these. And let's see if we get one that where it keeps their bodies in roughly the same place. We did get the black turtlenecks. So you see the black turtlenecks? We did get those. Of course, we got our podcaster microphones. We got the pens, holding the pens. We got the blue hair, and we got the white hair. So a lot of the pieces of the puzzle here are in this image, but the image is all wrong. So we got to fix that. So let's see what we get on the next one. Since we're running 10 of them, we will get a new image every 10%. All right. So now we've got their bodies in the right spot. But we don't have painting robots. We have a robot with paint on it, but it's not actually painting. We got our podcast microphones. She's got a little bit of blue hair, but she's not all the way blue. And let's check let's check out what we got. Okay, it's closer. And as you can see, sometimes you get this kind of weirdness with in painting. You can see how there's like another it's like trying to do a different background for the head. And there's a little bit of it here on this one too. So that's a settings thing. That's a messing around with it thing. Sometimes when you uh, generate a bunch of images, some of them will come out looking bad like this, and then some of them will have like a proper seam. So let's see what the second image pops out looks like. And our goal is to get closer and closer and closer until we get there. And what's different about this, if you've only done traditional art, is I mean honestly it's pretty similar because if you're doing traditional art, you're laying down let's say you're doing a painting, you're gonna lay down like a sketch of some kind on the bottommost layer. Perhaps you'll use a pencil or I don't know, like a Conte crayon um, or like a wash or something like that, but some kind of like baseline layer where you're trying to block in like the contrast. And that's kind of the best way I could describe this phase that we're in right now, which is we're like trying to lay down the general shapes of things. And then once we've kind of gotten that figured out, then we're going to start working on like fine tuning. So this one came out next. that's definitely not that's definitely not going to work. That's hilarious. Look what it did to this guy. Look how they massacred my boy. And then we've got our other podcaster. She's over here with a floating head. I wonder how the system like even thought this was okay. I mean, it doesn't think, but I don't know how it like justified that as being like as it can like float a floating face. We got some robots in the background. We got the long table. Oh, I'm so tired today. Um, Black turtlenecks. We got those. Colors look right on the hair. And we got the microphones. Let's see what the next one looks like. Same issue with the head. What's going on? Wow, look at this. Look at this weirdness on the wall. There's like alien robots doing stuff. I don't know what they're doing. We are in kind of a gallery looking setting though. We've got the art on the wall. We have the microphones. Of course, we've got the turtleneck. She's not wearing a turtleneck. Okay, based on what I'm seeing, I'm going to need to tighten it up more on the denoising strength because it's deviating too far from the original pixels that we've got. So let's bring it down to like 0.75. So what I've done is I've interrupted here. It's going to finish this image. Now this one looks like it has actual robots like standing in the background. If it ends up taking too long, what I'll sometimes end up doing from this point is working on the background first, and then I'll work on the characters. So if I'm like struggling somewhat with uh, placement of things, but anyways, here's what that one looked like. That's fun. So generally speaking, it kind of got it kind of got things going in the right direction, but it hasn't reconciled the pieces that I'm in painting. So let's try 0.75. We'll generate 10 more. And it's just waiting. Welcome to waiting. Hope your day is going alright wherever you are. It's Monday here. And we're just making shit. Making shit on a Monday. I suppose I could talk about RoboCast a little bit. Ah, here we go. It's a little closer. Who knows what this machine is on the left? I'm going to do another video on how I make the RoboCast episodes, because that's a whole process in and of itself. I use 7 different pieces of software to make an episode of RoboCast. So, and this is one of them. um, but yeah, it's possible, like, looking at an episode of RoboCast, somebody might think, um, might not realize how much work has gone into an episode just by looking at it. So that's why I thought maybe I'd do behind the scenes. That way you can see how I do it. Let's take a look here and see if this one finished. I think it might have. Yeah. All right. That's a little closer. Look at our robots in the background. So we've got some kind of weird machine here. I don't even know what that is. Looks like a medical device or something. It almost looks like it, or like a Pip-Boy. Looks like a Pip-Boy from Fallout. So we got our black turtleneck, and we got our podcast microphones. The background kind of looks like a studio. I mean, the back part does for sure. Uh, oh, I suppose. Oh, okay. I know why we've got this machine. We got this machine because we have the stack of Bibles in the original. So you see how the pixels from that are being used as the guide for this device right here. So if I was to, you know, leverage this, I would probably come up with something that should be on the desk that is roughly that shape that the model can like have some have something to grab onto. Because right now it doesn't really know what to do with that with those pixels. So it's like, well, what should be on this desk? All right, here's another one. So in this case, it looks like it put some kind of box, and that's kind of cool. Our character does not. He doesn't really look like he normally looks, unfortunately. So we might have to do a little photo bashing if we use this one, just to put the right face back on. And she looks a little off because you can see there's some part of the in painting that isn't being retained or is being retained. And we have a robot in the background there. I don't know what he's doing. Looks like he's like conducting music or something. The environment does kind of look like a studio. It looks a bit like a sound recording studio more than a art studio, which isn't out of the question if you're recording a podcast. Okay, I don't know what's going on in this one. The the seating looks more like a little bit more like you might be in an art gallery of some kind. The background is, who knows what's going on in that background. So I think I'm going to have to create some variety in what's going on in the background to get to something usable. I also have to think about like where the logo is going to go in, and how that's going to be um, how the logo is going to be kind of put into the environment in a natural way. Okay. So we're back to we've got that box again on the left. Our robots are doing some interesting things there, and our characters definitely look a little goofy. I might need to adjust the mask again. Let's it's possibly time to do a little photo bash. And when I say that, what I mean is, opening up Krita, bringing in one of my prior images, masking out the face. That way we get the right face in, and we can use whatever background we've got here. This one decided to put something in the foreground. The microphones don't look right. Okay, the next one might be going in an interesting direction. This kind of looks like from like Near Automata creatures in the background. And we've got some robots on the window. Someone sitting at a computer. It looks like, is that supposed to be a computer or a art canvas? Looks more like a computer to me. Our our poor character here is not looking. He's not looking the same as he normally looks. But this one might be in the closest direction that I'm looking for so far. And we've got this has become a cup, so that's actually not too bad. And we could have it. It looks like we've got our characters are uh they've got some like color swatches in front of them. The next one's cool. It's got some artwork here in the background. And we've got I don't know what that's supposed to be. Bird feeder? I might go with the cup one. But I kind of like the look of this one. So I might have to do a little bit of maybe like keep the cup. Okay. Look at this one that's coming up. Looks like the robots are like chilling out outside the window like, "Hey guys, let us in." That's pretty funny. Not bad. This one's not bad. It's not as interesting probably as this one. This one has a very interesting background. Like there's some artwork in the back, there's some easels, the lighting at the top. Microphones are kind of interesting. Like everything about it's pretty interesting except for that box. I like the cup a little bit better, just more fitting, I suppose. This one's funny. Like the robots are just watching. What if it's like a crowd of robots just watching the podcasters? Like a robot audience? That could be fun. What if they're like in a lyceum and there's like a crowd of robots that are watching the humans talk, but of course they're not humans, they're AIs, so it's like robots watching robots. Look at these guys. Our guy on the left there is looking pretty buff. And they looks like we got rid of like whatever was in front of him altogether. That's actually not bad. I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to use that. Maybe. But this one's more turtlenecky, which I like that. This one's like buff turtleneck. So I think we're going to use maybe like the body of the guy and the cup. It's a really big cup, so I imagine we'll shrink it down in a future generation. Oh, looks like we got a stack of books here in this one coming up. Oh, okay. This is a little bit more like the prompt about what I asked for. This final one. Let's take a look at that one. So we've got some books on the left. You've got a robot holding up its art. Like, look at my art. This one's not bad. That's a good start. Okay, I think this one might be a base we can use. So let's photo bash a little bit. Alright, we've got Krita open. Now we're going to use, let's put in, to start with, we'll put in one of my images that has the faces that I want to use. We'll do this one because there's like a darker clothing. All right, that's good. And then let's pick. I liked the one with the cup, as far as like the guy's body. So let's just. How do you do masking in Krita? I know how to do it in like Photoshop and Photopea. Whatever. I'll just do it the dirty way for now. So we will erase the face. We need to rasterize this layer. Flatten it. Okay. Soften it. Soften our brush. There we go. It's just got a little fixing on his face. This will get cleaned up in our next iteration. So you don't really have to worry about a whole lot about some of this stuff that you would normally shop out, because in one of our future iterations that'll just probably go away. And what I'm mainly concerned about is retaining the way his face like normally looks. See, that's probably going to be bad if I keep it like that. Okay. And maybe like something like right about that. Okay. Now as far as she's concerned, I do want to do a little bit of like healing brush work right now, just to clean up like some of this jankiness right there. Yeah, okay. And also with her blue hair, so we're gonna do is we're gonna erase. Oops. Should I erase like the edge? That way, in our next iteration, we retain that blue. But this means we're going to have to be careful kind of around the chin part where I just made that adjustment, because we want to keep that. See? So we're going to get blue here. We probably need to go a little bit of a smaller brush. And this is just going to make sure that our next iteration will smoothly and seamlessly give her blue hair, because that was kind of a problem in some of our previous iterations. Just do this. Okay. That's good. Let's see, what else? Anything else I want to change? No. Alright. Good enough? We don't want to save it exactly like that, though. We will throw it in. Dash 1. Alright. What you just watched is called photo bashing. It's where you take different iterations that you've created and then layered them on top of each other and done things with them. That way, when you pull it back in to the image generator, you're going to get something a little bit closer to what you had. Alright, so if we reset our mask here, we can see. Alright, now what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to keep him the way he is. I'll probably let the model change the cup now. And I'm going to keep her like face generally the way that it is. So let's do a little bit of painting. Let's see here. And this time I'm going to be a little tighter. I'm going to probably even go over a little bit. Over the edges just a bit, because I want to keep the edge intact so it doesn't look cut out. It's generally going to do a pretty good job anyways of making it not look cut out, but still there's like some cases where it does look off and you want to clean that up. Alright. I wish this tool had a shift. Oops. Shift to make a line like you can in Photopea. I imagine for a lot of the generations it's going to make this cup just as big. But there will probably be some where it makes a smaller cup. I can tell it to make a smaller cup. Yeah, his hands are not looking right. So we'll keep the parts that are looking right and redo the parts that aren't. All right. Now we're gonna hold on to her face. And this should give her like completely blue hair now, since I've implied the blue hair. Okay, so what we've got now are we're gonna retain the guy and his awesome turtleneck and part of his hand. We will see what we get here differently for the cup. If it shrinks it down, it may not, but it's fine. The microphones are looking pretty good. Maybe I've had mixed results with like preserving microphones, iteration, so we'll just keep rolling the dice on the microphones. Um, Everything else, should I keep the table? It'll probably give me pretty similar tables every time. Now we're in painting the not masked part. And is there anything else I want to change? Probably not. Alright, let's see what 10 iterations like this looks like. Should be a little closer to what we're looking for. Oh, I was going to use that other background, wasn't I? I'm remembering now. I forgot something. I liked this background. I liked this background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that in as a layer. And I'm going to flatten these two. And then I'm going to actually I'm going to do this. Keep him intact. And then his turtleneck as well, like we had before. The cup. This hand's a little better, actually. Let's see here. Okay. And then for her, again, we're going to retain this part of it. Okay. Yeah. Better. Better. All right. That's a good starting point for the background. Call this bash 2. Back to Forge. Now we'll bring bash 2 into the image. And we will keep more of the hand because I like the hand that's on this one. Okay. Now we gen. Looks like, is this the one I just made? Yeah. Looks like I may need to feather my mask a little bit more. So we're going to do a 6 pixel mask feather. And you know what? It's a good time to take a bio break. So I'm going to take a bio break. We're going to let this go. The video is going to continue to go just because I think it's good to see how long it takes. Just to set your expectations if you're going to do this. So I'll be right back. We've got 94% left to go on our 10 images, and you can go ahead and watch what it spits out. What did I miss? All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at our new images. I've got like a double microphone on this one. Our drink has turned into something fruity, but we have no robots in the background. Hey, this one's got some robots. Okay, we got 2 images. So I had enough time to go to the bathroom, and we're at 22%. So there you go. The way I would describe this is very Darwinian process. If you go and look at the generative art Wikipedia page, you will see that the history of generative art is about randomness plus some kind of constraints. So, like for example, someone created art using plants. They placed certain plants in certain spots, cultivated them a certain way, and then when they grew, it created a piece of art. That's a good way to think about how generative art works, how AI art works, in the sense that yes, there is painting involved, there's masking involved, there's prompting involved, and things like that. But what you're doing is um, it's generative in the sense that you're creating generations. It's like Darwinian in the sense that you're saying like I'm taking these images and maybe I'm going to mash them together and they're going to have a baby. and then I'm going to mash some other images together, and they're going to have a baby, and I'm going to generate more images. And as the process goes on, generation through generation, you're starting to get closer and closer to the final result that you want. And of course, art is knowing when to stop. So you have to decide like when do you have when are you satisfied with what you have? Now, obviously, I'm not satisfied when I have things like edges that can be seen to make it obvious that it's been, um, artificially created. Um, think oddities like this blue on the brown hair. So there's things like that that I'm going to fix once I've resolved the background, I think. Because with an image like this where there's depth, because like you want foreground, middle ground, background, and the middle ground here is like the wall that's behind them, and there's like a window or a door or something leading into another room. Um, so with creating these images, a lot of times I'll want to try to get the background solid and then work my way up to the foreground, which is how you do it in painting as well. But there's some situations where I'm also trying to resolve things that are in the foreground because I just know I need to solve those problems, and I can kind of work around them a little bit with the image generator, with masking. So uh, that's kind of my thought process. So we got some robotic humans here in the background, like chilling. What if I had like, what if I had like a human model in the middle, and I had like robots painting the model? That would be funny. I think that would be an interesting idea. Maybe I should change my prompt to be something like that once I get something that's a little. Well, this one was what gave me that idea, because I was looking and I saw there's a human here and there's like this robot that's just chilling, sitting here, and that made me think, oh, this is like, because I've been through a lot of art classes, and when you're in art class, I don't know if they still do this today, but like when I was in school back in 2000, long ass time ago, 24 years ago, everyone in the class would take turns being the model. So you'd sit up, and let everyone draw you, and you would learn what that was like sitting there while everyone's staring at you, drawing every detail of you. So that's what that reminded me of, is like that sitting there um, while somebody draws you. So I wonder if I could use this one as a base, change my prompt, and then that gives the scene a little more cohesiveness. Um, the model may have an easier time like creating that image because there's like a story, there's like something going on. Let's just see what these other gens looked like when they came out. Okay, nothing like super usable. So alright, I'm gonna interrupt now, and I'm gonna use that one that I liked, which was this one. Let's clear our masks real quick and see how that turned out. Looks like a little sloppy. Sloppy. But we're closer. We are definitely closer. Alright, so let's see. The gallery is full. Okay, so the gallery. The gallery contains a posing human surrounded by artist robot artists painting at canvases. I don't know if the model is really going to understand this or not. I might have to rephrase that, but let's just see if it understands what I'm going for. I'm going to now. I'm going to mask a little tighter on the face and stuff, and have it redo the body. It should stick to the black turtleneck now that I have the black turtleneck. That's just generally what happens. Is like since this is image to image and it's using the starter image as like the static to start the image. If you have a black turtleneck and you tell it I want a black turtleneck, generally speaking it's going to keep the black turtleneck. But we do need to still mask out the face and the hair because we like those elements. Because what ended up happening is I ended up introducing some weirdness into the image with this particular generation. So I need to pull it back out, and the easy way to do that is to mask the part that you want to keep and let it just do its thing on the rest of it. And then as far as she's concerned, we're going to keep her face, we're going to keep the blue, and hopefully we get the rest of the blue, rest of the hair blue. We'll find out if it because the rest of the hair is not currently blue, it doesn't necessarily feel, I don't know, coerced into doing it. But if it decides to not give me the blue hair, I'll show you how to make the blue hair. It's actually pretty easy if you know how to do it. Alright, so I think we've got everything now. We can do another generation, another 10 images, and let's see if it gives us something like what we're looking for, which would be a human model in the middle, probably likely sitting on something or standing, and then a few robot artists like surrounding it at easels, painting the human model. And I can imagine the image generator doing some really goofy things with this, so we'll see how successful this ends up being. Hopefully it doesn't give me I feel like because we've got this goofiness right here, we may have to paint that out. Because I feel like it's going to give us yeah, it did. Well, it gave him more muscular arms. So, that's something. But yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking it was going to do. It was going to use this as the boundary of the shoulder. But not the end of the world. Alright, so our image, you can see, is kind of like we've got a robot in the middle, and we've got a couple of robots on either side. But we're missing like a humanoid. We're missing a human. We've got humanoids, but no human. Let's take a look. That's interesting. I also like how our art cup has splatters on it, because I say each robot is covered with splatters of paint. Well, the model knows that there needs to be splatters of paint somewhere in the image, but oftentimes it doesn't quite know where, especially if it's something like a background element. So the next one is not what we're looking for. We might have to bump up the denoising to get it to give us the thing that we're looking for. Let's try that. So this time what we're going to do is we will use one of the ones we just generated. See, I like this one, but there's like some goofiness here we're going to have to fix. Oops. Okay, so we got like, I can see there's like a robot, it's like kind of behind a canvas. We've got some easels. So this is kind of going in the right direction. I also like the cup a little bit better, the coffee cup. That's kind of cool. So I think we're maybe going to go with this one for this iteration. Looks like we've got another image getting spat out. and not bad. But I feel like this is a little closer to probably the composition that we're trying to get to, because there's like a central figure, and then there's like other figures like around it. So I think this is going to be the one we use, but here's the other one that got spat out. Huh. So this one looks a little more human, and I wonder if, with some coercion, if this one would become our human and the robots. But there's not easels, there's no, so it might have a little harder time. Notice our paint splatters here made it onto the paper in front of them. All right, so we will stick with this one, and I'm gonna clean up the nose here while I do this other thing. So just do that. Hopefully that should fix it. Sometimes just doing little touch things like that will fix these problems, because when you're doing an image to image, it's like, well, that that artifact shouldn't be there. But sometimes it'll introduce a new artifact, so you kind of have to figure out. All right, so we're switching to in-paint masked. This is going to be the inverse now. So we're only going to in-paint the painted part, which is going to be this middle part. I think the top is fine, so we're really just going to in-paint this middle area right here. And the hands are not bad. I'm sure her hands probably should get replaced. And going up like this, and we'll kind of like try to stick, generally speaking, to the seams of the let's call it the contrast seams. That's what we want to stick to. Is like, where does the contrast change? And there's like something here that we want to just get rid of. We'll come back and fix her hair after the fact. And she's not wearing her black turtleneck either. Okay. That's good. And let's crank up the denoise. So we're going to go like 85.85. And this should make a considerably different background now. Alright. We may have to do a little in-paint sketch here to get it to do what we want it to do. And that means we give it some pixels to start with. We give it some colors and some shapes, just some general guidance, and then it will use that to compose the image. Let's take a look at what it spat out. It's still spitting it out. This one looks kind of like a robot DJ. He's ready to drop the bass. It's got muscles like a human that's posing. We'll give it 2 or 3 more generations and see if it resolves to something. Maybe crank up the denoise a little more, and if that doesn't work, then we're going to start doing some in-paint sketch, which is a different technique, but comes in handy for situations like this where you're trying to get the model to give you something specific. Oh, okay. We got a human, ladies and gents. We got a human in our next one. Actually, this is yeah. This next one is like getting us closer. I feel like. Okay, so we have a couple of robots like this one. See, I thought this one kind of looked like a robot holding up a brush. Kind of like you might for um, proportions. And this one looks like it's kind of holding up some paper of some kind. So, but this is kind of like the pixels we may need to get us where we're trying to go, so we don't have to paint. We're just trying to get like think of it like static. We're trying to get the static to be a certain shape or a certain color or contrast, and that general blobby shape is something that the model can then use. All right, so it's given us trash, but let's use this one. We're gonna keep our well. Let's see how the hand turned out. Did the hand turn? So the hands are turned out a little better, and the microphones are pretty good. Should I repaint my mask? Might as well. Might as well. Alright, so we will repaint this mask. Only this time we are going to... I feel like I need to maybe redo his hands, though. At least the back hand. Her hands are fine. She's holding two things there. And maybe this thing, too. Alright. Now, this is going to require a little bit more fine-tuning. Now, sometimes with microphones, it ends up looking wonky, so I may end up having to replace these microphones, but we'll just see if we can like keep them. I think it's because it's a foreground element and there's a lot of little details, and when you're masking, sometimes those details can come out looking kind of wrong or off. Just go ahead and mask this part out as well. Okay. And maybe like a little bit of masking here. And if you're wondering, do I go through this process for every single image, uh, for every single episode, or every single week of episodes for RoboCast? And the answer is yes. I actually do go through this process for every single week of episodes. And that's why this is actually one of the more time consuming parts of making RoboCast, because This oftentimes I'll do this on the weekends, and it'll take me, well, however long this episode is going to be. That's how long it typically takes me. I think the first one that I did probably took more time, but some of these have taken more time than others, depending on like how complicated I wanted to get with the end result. All right, we've got everything masked now, so we're gonna do more generations and see if we get something that's more along the lines of what we're looking for. I suppose I could do like a nude model, but like strategically cover parts of the model's body. Oh, part of our mask didn't get masked. Just noticed that. Well, we'll get one image with that. All it takes is for just like one pixel in the middle, and the model will use that. So you do have to be careful when you're masking to make sure you get full coverage of whatever you're masking. Otherwise, it you'll have things coming out like absolutely not what you're trying to get. All right. So that's what we got out of this one. Interesting. We do have the central figure, and we do have these other figures around it. So it is getting us in the right direction. But let's do another one now that we've uh, properly masked. It looks like our microphones have largely see, like, there's some goofiness. You can see this like underneath the microphone here. There's some like jitteriness here. So that's the kind of stuff I was talking about. Whenever you're masking out like a foreground element, a lot of times it's better to just completely mask over the whole thing and let it regenerate something, because even if you get the mask perfect, it still sometimes like has trouble um, like looking real. Let's see what we get out of this. I think that people
Okay, so.
who don't
Oh my.
people who are critical of AI art don't understand what advanced AI artists are doing. And so their ignorance is what fuels their bullying and like stupid treatment of other people. Um, Whereas if they just like got into the tools and tried to use them, I think what happens is probably a lot of the anti-AI art people probably have tried to get into the tools, failed, and then said that's trash. So, like, just because you failed at it doesn't mean you have to go bully other people, you know? Like, that's your failure. But there are other people who are learning these tools and are creating art with it. But you just, anti-AI art people just don't like that. It's like, well, tough beans. If you don't like that, tough shit. People are going to make art whether you like it or not. And of course, they all like to say, like, that's not art. Well, if this isn't art, then you tell me what this is. If pixel pushing to get an end result isn't art, then digital art is not art either. Let's see here. So far, this, compositionally speaking, is the closest to what we're looking for. So I might actually switch to this as our foundational image for the next generation because none of the stuff that I'm getting here is looking right. Unless I maybe bring the noise or the denoising strength down. So it's got robots with like looks like blue splotches on their chests. I think we'll go one more image. I'm going to interrupt it here and let it finish this one. And then we may use the other image with the robot in the middle because I think that one's going to I think if I tell it nude model, it'll give me the nude model. And then we can strategically cover the nude model. I could tell it nude model wearing like I don't know, a peach bikini or something like that. Or I could do a nude male model. Alright, we got a man, we got a human here. Maybe we can start with this guy. Let's see what happens with this guy. Alright. He looks like a conductor. Maybe he's supposed to be an art teacher. But that's kind of looking closer, compositionally speaking, to what we're trying to get. I think this is probably going to be a case for in-paint sketch. All right, we're moving on to in-paint sketch. Here we go, friends. I've been talking about this, but here we go. So, what we're gonna do is we will strategically place something over top of his bits. Uh, let's first sample some skin color, say from right about there, and then we're gonna paint generally what his body shape looks like. And I guess we will also let's just make the body shape like complete, and then I'll do some kind of censoring here. Let's do like a dark gray kind of, and we'll do like a censored bar here. So it'll just create something to like cover that up probably. I hope so. For the sake of this YouTube video, um, not showing nudity. All right, next we got to look at our denoise strength. So since we are using these pixels, we probably want like a slightly lower denoise strength, like 0.5. This is where things, this is where it's an art, not a science. So we are going to generate, we're going to tell it to generate 10. We'll look at the first one, and we might interrupt it if it doesn't give us human flesh. Let's see what happens. And by the way, if you are into AI art, don't let these assholes tell you you're not an artist. They're just assholes. They're just bullies. That's all they are. If you're making art, you're an artist. The smallest piece of artwork that you can make is called a jot. It's just one little like slash with some paint. Look at our guy. Um, Anything more than a jot is art. Um, so clearly, like spending hours working on a piece of AI art is art, just like spending hours working on a piece of AI music is art, just like taking a photo with a quick press of a button is also art. It's the intention, it's the expression that makes it art, not the medium or how long it takes or how complicated the work is. Like I said, you could just dab a little bit of red paint on a brush and do a little jot on a canvas, and that's art. Now, as to its critical reception, that's a different question. But it doesn't mean that it's not art just because you painted one slash of red. So what the discussion could change to is that good art? Maybe that's up for debate. But it's not art. It is art. So we got a guy now. That's looking pretty good. He's got a prosthetic arm, it looks like, or a missing arm. But we've got a shirtless guy wearing some underwear. So you can see the model figured out. Well, I'm gonna put some underwear on him as its explanation for what that blob was. All right, I think we're gonna use this shirtless guy. Now, if we go back to our in paint, we're gonna put the shirtless guy image in there. Now this should coax the model into giving us something a lot closer to what we've been trying to get to. We're going to bring the denoise strength back up to around 70. Let's do, yeah, I'll do 75 to start, and if it's too much, then we'll pull it down. This was the other one it gave me. We did get the underwear on the bottom and the legs, but we're wearing a shirt on top. And this one also. So you can see like the colors are flat here. This is a lot more similar to uh, the original paint that I did, where I just laid down the colors and they look really flat. So that's why I say like bring it down to 0.5 when you're doing in paint sketch, somewhere in that neighborhood, because there's like this line that it has to cross over where it looks like the original paint that you did versus like crossing over into looking like a photo. Now this is funny. We've got a guy covered in paint. We don't have our robot artists though. I might have to do those separately, or bring down the. I might have to bring down the denoise strength. Let's just generate a few more and see. Or I may need to rewrite the prompt because I suspected that maybe the model would struggle with how I worded that, which is possibly what we could run into here. Now bear in mind, all this work that we've done has all been within one model, so like we could switch to another model and possibly get different results. So this is the covered in paint guy. Looks like we got a Drax looking kind of guy here. He's looking kind of reddish. But he's not surrounded by robots. And I wouldn't really call that like a good pose. I don't know if you would want to be in that pose holding your hands like that. You get really tired after a while, but this guy's pretty muscular. All right, let's. It looks like it's struggling a little bit. Um, let's bring the denoise down. We'll bring it down to 65. See, here's what it gave us: a robot holding up a painting of some kind. Some AI slop. Look at that AI slop. All right, we're at 0.65 now. Let's see how that does. Yeah, I don't know. I think the reason this anti AI art thing gets me bent out of shape is because of the hubris. You know, when I was in school, there were asshole artists in my classes who were that same kind of elitist piece of shit asshole. And I never got along with those people. I never joined those cliques. I was always friends with a wide variety of people: technical people, artists, people in religion, people studying um, language. You know what I mean? Like, I had friends from a wide spectrum of studies when I was in school. But then there were the art people, right? And the art people were very like exclusionary, stuck up pricks. And I feel like a lot of that mentality has made its way over into this discussion. When really, everyone should be allowed to make art, and everyone can make art. You may not be talented with a pencil, but you might be good at video editing, or you might be good at writing, or any number of other mediums. So you kind of have to find your medium and figure out what you have like innate talent in and go in that direction. Don't let any elitist asshole tell you that one medium is better than another, or that you have to do this medium to be an artist. That's elitist bullshit. It's just not true. Like, you can make whatever art you want to make and use whatever medium you want to use. There's been people who have made some very strange artwork using some very strange mediums. That's fine. That's part of art. I mean, look at the mixed media. Go look at artwork made with mixed media, or look at collage art, and you will see a lot of very strange things. That's fine. That's art. It's all part of like the creative process. Okay. All right. This is like closer. They all look like they're like looking at him, like looking at what's behind the package, what's behind the box. But he's not a human. He's a robot. Although that could be funny too, like robots drawing a robot. Like if the model in the middle is a robot and the robots around it are robots, that's kind of funny too. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna take this image and I'm gonna repose the guy. Then I'm gonna then I'm gonna specifically paint the robot artists. I think I'm gonna maybe do those separately because it seems to be struggling. Although maybe if I bring down the denoise even more, that might solve it. Let's see. So I'm gonna interrupt here. Let's bring the denoise down to like 50%. See what happens. Oh, okay. We got something a little closer this time. This might be the new foundation for our next generation here. I, it's funny, like I swear this happens 10 out of 10 times. As soon as I click cancel or stop or whatever, it spits out an amazing one. As if to say like, "No, no, don't stop. I have a really good one in me." So this is the one that it just spat out, and that is a lot closer to what we're looking for. So you have the human posing in the middle, you have the robots like surrounding him. So I think if we start with this one, we are going to get a lot closer to our intended final result. Oh, how did the hand and the pen look? Um, yeah, it's a little goofy. Let's just keep we'll keep generating on that too. All right, here we go. Back to the slot machine. Pull the one arm bandit and see what comes out. Which, by the way, is I think something a lot of generative artists like. I mean, computer generated art has been around for like decades, like since the 60s or 70s. I forget when, but like it's been around for a while, and up until the AI image boom that happened a few years ago, it was typically geometric. It was a lot of geometric shapes. Is what like computer generative art looked like. And there's people that have put a ton of artwork into galleries using that. So it's been around. Um, what I think people are mad about and upset about is they think that this will replace human artists. But that's a separate discussion from whether or not this is art. The question of whether or not it's going to replace human artists, I think it's going to do two things at the same time. I think it's going to, and it is, shaking up the art industry as far as like commercial art is concerned. So now I mean, I don't have the money to hire a photographer and people to take these kinds of photos anyways, but let's say that I did, maybe I would spend the time generating images instead of trying to shoot photos. But the other thing is like um, this is democratizing art. Like this is going to make art a lot more accessible to, I would say, for now, more technical people. So a lot of people who know about programming and working with software but don't have raw core art training or art ability can start to learn art from a different angle. They can come in from this angle instead of coming in through the traditional go to art school kind of angle. And that's fine. I mean, however you come into art is how you come into art, and that's totally fine by me. Um, so as a result, this is a lot closer to the generative art that we've had over the past number of decades, which was more geometric, because that was more technical, and this is more technical. You're noticing I'm using a lot of dials and weights and things like that, um, and thinking about things somewhat from a technical standpoint and how I'm doing the art. And where traditionalists will get bent out of shape is they don't think that you can come into art from that technical angle, but you can. You absolutely can. Um, so I think this is going to be a broadening. It's like more people having access to being able to make art, but then also segments of commercial art being eaten up by this technology. Then, on the other side of that, is going to be a broadening or widening of what's possible. And that is going to create new categories of art and new things that people will pay money for. So maybe 5 or 10 years ago, maybe somebody would have paid someone to to do an art commission, and maybe now they would use AI to do it. But maybe now that we have better tools, there are things that advanced AI artists can do that weren't possible 5 or 10 years ago, and those are the things people may commission for now. So it's like changing. And I think that's probably the likelier scenario, is that all of this is going to keep changing versus artists just hanging up their smocks and calling it quits, you know. So I think, but you know, if you're a traditional artist, there's still room for you. Like, there's this artist hate subreddit. It's bullshit. Like, there nobody hates you. There are plenty of artists making AI art. That doesn't mean they hate themselves or other artists. That means they want to use these new tools to make art. That's it. That's all there is to it. And that's fine. It doesn't mean that you have to be feel like you're persecuted because of it. No. Like, new tools exist. Yes, it's a little uncomfortable, but learn these new tools and try to figure them out, because these can help your workflow quite a bit. You know, like, think about how much um, generative fill helped when Photoshop added that. You remember that? Remember how like amazed everyone was when you could like take a picture of a sky and there's like birds or something and you could like paint over them and suddenly they're gone? Do you remember how amazing that was and how exciting that was? Well, that didn't exist before that, right? And that came around and that helped the digital art process. All of the tools that Photoshop has have helped the digital art process. Things like layers, masks, filters, color sampling, all of these things that didn't exist or were much, much harder to do in the photo lab when graphic design was all done in the darkroom. um, oh, let's see what we got here. That one's alright. Nobody's painting yet. This one kind of looks like they are holding up something. Nobody's holding up paintbrushes or standing in front of canvases. Our guy looks nice and muscular though. We went from we went from this guy we went from dad bod to muscular. Now we're in muscular territory. I guess we hired a professional poser. We hired a model to come pose for our robots. So let's see. I think maybe I'll interrupt now, and maybe I will use the one where they're like holding stuff. This one. Now there's only two robots though. I kind of like the idea of having a group of them. Also, I'm not sure, but I feel like I want to change his pose. Oh, there's a different pose. Is it slightly different pose? Hmm. What kind of pose should he be in? Oh, did we get one more guy? We got one more guy. That looks weird. Let's start with this one. $49. Did we fix our hand? Kinda not really yet. Okay. getting closer. Or a whole lot closer than we started with. If you remember what we started with, if we go back to the first generation, we started with this. Remember this? So we started with this, and now we are up to this. Here's our before and after. We changed the outfit. We changed the background. She's got a new outfit, but we're gonna change her outfit again. We changed the microphones. Of course, we changed the what's going on behind them. Um, so we're making progress. We're making progress. We'll see if any of these spit out canvases, but if not, we may have to draw them. Yeah, let's draw them. Alright, we're going to draw them. So we go back to InPaint Sketch, clear what we've got here, and pull 49 back in. And let's draw, I'm just going to draw like these very light gray canvases, representations of canvases. Maybe like this. And then one over here. And we really need to convince the model that this is a canvas, so we're going to do a little bit of brown wood to represent the wood part of the of the easel. Maybe we'll just we'll just like imply it kind of. So in theory, it will understand what I'm doing. It will understand that this is supposed to be an easel. Come on. We'll do something like this. Alright, now that looks like trash, but wait till you see what gets spat out on the other side. Here we go. Oh, where was I? What was I talking about? I was talking about AI art, of course. I could talk about my background. I actually have 2 years in commercial art and 2 years in graphic design. Um, Halfway through my commercial art training, I had a portfolio review. Now, I passed that review, so I could have continued in the art program for the final 2 years and become like a fine artist. So actually, my first 2 years, my art was good enough that I passed the portfolio review. And because there are people that just don't pass, and then they can either stay in the program and do those earlier classes over, or keep working at it and try to get good enough and get through, or they can quit. um, so I didn't have to quit. Um, but what I what I was doing as I was working on my commercial art degree was I was also learning graphic design on my own. I had a computer. I got Photoshop. I got all the Macromedia software in design. It was back then. It was PageMaker. There was also Dreamweaver. There was also the precursor to Illustrator, which was called Freehand, Macromedia Freehand, and I really missed Freehand. That was a vector art tool. So I was learning all this software, and I looked at the graphic design program, and I was like, I could be doing that. I really want to be doing that. Even though I had taken drawing classes, typography, intro to printing technology, photography, all of the traditional commercial art first half of the degree, classes. Um, so I did a big thing and I pivoted. I pivoted to graphic design with a double minor in advertising and e-business, and I did 2 more years. So I took all the graphic design courses, at least the first 2 years of graphic design courses in the degree, and some of my commercial art classes, gave me credit towards the graphic design degree. And then in 2004, I went into freelance. So basically, I looked at this and went like, I could keep working on this. Like, I'm 4 years into college, and I could keep going to college, and like, it would take me probably like another 2 years to finally graduate. Or I could just get into the field, because when I was taking when I was in the graphic design program and I took a web design class, I realized I was way ahead of where everyone else was. Like, they were teaching us basic like hello world type stuff, and I had already been designing like websites. So once I realized kind of how far ahead I was, it became more feasible to enter the field, and I did. And I started as a junior web designer. Well, I started as a freelancer first, but then when I got my first like actual web design job, I started as a junior web designer. And yeah, I went through all of the shitty paces that you do when you work for $12 an hour as a web designer, and you get yelled at for stupid stuff like not having a link underlined or something. Back then, back when that was what you had to do. So yeah, that's how I got into the field. I've been in design field for 20 years now, and I've I've been looking forward to things like AI art. I mean, to me, this is a very natural evolution of if you think about it. Like, I grew up watching Star Trek and Star Wars and a lot of other things, but in Star Trek you had the holodeck. I don't know if you remember that, but the holodeck could make anything. So in my mind, like, having AI art and AI video and AI music is all predicted. It was all very much like expected. I expected something like this to eventually happen, just because if you're going to get to a holodeck, which is obviously what people want, that's what they want to get to, you have to follow steps along that path, which means if you're going to be able to create anything, that means you can create AI art. It's just one of the many things you can create with AI. So look at this. We got some easels now. Got some easels and some canvases. That's looking pretty good. Let's see which one we like the best. That one's pretty good. You see how it knew kind of like what I wanted, because I gave it the pixels to get there. I think probably this one is the best one. Oh, as usual, when I interrupt it, it's going to give me probably the winning one. So let's see what it gives me. don't think that's the winning one. All right, the winning one is this one, I think. 59. Yeah, 59. Now, last but not least, I kind of want to change his pose, and I want to change their poses, and I want to show that they've got paintbrushes. So we are going to switch back to in painting because we've gotten our. You only need in paint sketch when you're trying to give the model some pixels to work with. If you've already got like generally what you're trying to get, then you're good. Now you see this like seam that I created. You may or may not be able to see this uh, on the video, but what ended up happening is I ended up creating this like seam. This is why you want to generally try to in paint along contrast seams. So what I'm going to do to fix this is I'm going to in paint along these contrast seams, and that should resolve, and this one as well. This should resolve that in painting seam there. And when I say a contrast seam, what I mean is like this is a contrast seam. This is a contrast seam. These are contrast seams. I'm talking about like general shapes. So if there was a problem in this area, I would want to fill in this whole area because it's one continuous contrast piece. So similarly, you can see the seams right here from when I did the in painting. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do this right here, and you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and take this whole area here and in paint this whole area. Because when you try to in paint along a flat color or a flat value, it ends up creating a situation where you may accidentally make a visible seam. And if you're going for photorealism, which I am, then you can't have any kind of seams anywhere that will spoil the illusion. Which, by the way, the other thing that really excited me about where AI art has gotten now is photorealism. Like, never before have we really had a tool that allowed us to create things photorealistically. We've gotten close with computer generated graphics, but those are like tools like Lightwave and Maya and stuff like that are like such advanced tools that as I've like looked into them, tried to learn them, pick them up and whatever, I'm like, this is too complicated. Like I would need to give the next 5 years of my life to learning this tool. So ain't nobody got time for that. If you're like me and you're like working on a lot of different things, you can't spend 5 years learning one piece of software, you know? Like it's got to be learnable within like a month tops probably. From a basic standpoint. If it's not learnable that fast, I mean, I have ADHD as well, so that's going to have a big impact on whether or not I have the patience to sit for 5 years and learn a piece of software. But when it came to like Photoshop, like I picked it up right away. When it came to all the Macromedia stuff back in the day, I picked it up right away. If it's intuitive, you know, I'll pick it up right away. But software that has like a ton of bells and whistles all the way through it is just so time consuming to learn for me, because I'm not necessarily the type that is easily able to follow tutorials, you know, that requires a lot of like sustained attention, and I can hyper focus, but I have to be really interested in it, and generally I'm not super interested in tutorials. So that creates kind of a problem. Either I have to be able to learn it myself, like just from intuitively picking it up. I can do a few tutorials, but at a certain point, my attention span dips, and I kind of have to just move on to something else. But learning AI art software, generally speaking, they're pretty similar to each other. I mean, there's stuff like Comfy UI that's like much more advanced, and I have toyed with it. Um, but I don't typically need something that advanced for most of what I'm doing. There's not really a workflow. Like, I tried it and I was like, that's cool, but there wasn't really a sense that, like, oh, I need to use this because I'm not necessarily. I think Comfy UI is really good for people who are much more technical because they want to approach these problems from a much more technical standpoint. Whereas I have a I have a background in graphic design, so I can do a lot of things in post, in an image editor, and I can be thinking about that I'm going to do that as I work that way, so my workflow can support things that people using Comfy UI might have had to do on the front end of the process. I don't know if that made sense, but traditional artists coming into AI art are going to have an advantage on the back end and the back end of the process, the post processing, and technical people coming into AI art are going to have an advantage on the front side of it, which is really where like Comfy UI lives. It's like using all kinds of widgets and stuff to get the AI art to do certain things or look certain ways when it comes out, when it gets generated at the time of generation. So right now I am masking out the parts that I want to change, and I'm also following that kind of guideline that I gave you about contrast seams, which is why I'm masking out some of this much larger than the stuff that I want to change. Okay. So we're going to change this area back here, which needs to be like cleaned up. And we're going to change the robots to hopefully be holding up some paintbrushes. So let's check our prompt here. Each robot is covered with spatters of paint. Let's do each robot is holding up um, holding up a paintbrush that has been dipped in paint. Um, each robot is looking at the human model. Okay. Now we should get. Let's see what we get out of this. Wait, what are we? Well, we're at 0.5. So we'll get one image at 0.5 and see what that looks like. But I speculate we're gonna need more, like probably like 0.65 or something. I guess the other thing I would mention is just that I have worked in like every art medium there is practically in some way or another. I've even done like spray paint. Um, and I've made music in the studio. I've done a lot of video editing. Of course, you've seen my YouTube channel. I've done a lot of game design. Um, and the way I would put it is the creative process is the same no matter what medium you use. It's the same. It's idea driven, it's expression driven, and then you are iterating. You are coming up with some like broad stroke kind of thing, and then you're cleaning up, and you're refining it, and you're adding things and taking things out, and eventually you get to what you feel like is the finished composition. If you're making music, same idea. Like you start with something very rough. You're writing your lyrics out. You're maybe maybe strum it out on the guitar, making something very basic. But then you get into the studio and you start laying down instrument tracks and listening to it, and you start to see if it like starts to sound like what you're trying to get to. And as you iterate and add things and clean up things, add more tracks, add more vocals, whatever it is you're doing, you start to eventually get to that point where you're like, okay, this is the thing. Like I'm making this thing. Um, it's the same way with making a piece of making a drawing. You know, you start out with something like a sketch, and then you go over top of that sketch and refine it, and then you might start adding color, and you might start adding finer details, and then you start working at more like broad strokes at the post processing, like to adjust all the color as a whole and the contrast as a whole and all these different things, and eventually you get to something where you're like, all right, this is starting to feel like a finished piece, you know. It's the same way in graphic design too. It's the same way in typography. All when it comes to lettering typography, I will say this: you only get one shot at it. So if you're doing like calligraphy, you got one piece of paper, you got a pen. There's no undo button. So you actually do have to have like mastery over your hands precision, and know exactly the letter forms that you're going to make, um, and know exactly what you're going to write as well, because you have to get the spacing right and things like that. So I would say like typography is like one of the or hand lettered typography is one of the like the least forgiving mediums. I, Watercolor as well. Once you start laying down like color in watercolor, that's it. Like there's no undo button. You've been laying down the all of those colors, and you can't go back, like you can with like oil or acrylic or something like that. Or I mean, I was gonna say Conte crayon maybe because you can't really sit there with an eraser, but Conte crayon is more for sketching anyways. Let's see here. So our robots have a more like their pose definitely looks more like they are holding up something. I think this is a good time for me to take a bio break. We got some. Oh, did it only generate one? It'll. No, it generated. What? Oh, I canceled it. That's why. Why did I cancel? I forget. But whatever. We're gonna generate 10 more. Maybe I should actually. Should I start with this one? It's cleaned up. Okay, hold on. This one's cleaned up. So I more or less fixed this issue down here. There's like a little tiny issue I'm gonna fix right here. There's sort of a little tiny issue here too I'm gonna fix. Alright. But this is looking a little more like what I'm trying to get to. The faces are kind of creepy, so we're gonna fix that. Okay, this one just got rid of the robots altogether. We don't want to get rid of them altogether. Let's do something like this and like imply that, let's give it enough space to show that there is a brush there. And then the bottom, we'll just go ahead and have it replace all of this. And then I'm going to take a bio break once we get those 10 images going. Okay. Similarly, we're going to here. Do we want to keep the... Yeah, I guess we'll keep the easel out like that. Fix this microphone. Fix the robot. Not looking in the right direction. And also get this, give it some room for the brush. Alright. That's good. Alright, let's see. Now we're at 0.65. Yeah, that's probably good. Generate. Give me 10 images. Alright, I'll be right back. You can watch what it generates, and we will continue. Alrighty. Back we are. Let's see what we got. What is going on in that one? So this one's not bad. It doesn't quite get us there, but it definitely implies what's going on. I may have to... Let's just see what the other ones spit out. I think the other silly thing that I see is anti-AI art people saying that it does all the work for you. Now, it might seem ironic that I'm saying that as I'm letting it generate, right? But again, look at like the history of generative art. It is about using randomness and then sort of corralling it into what you want. So I'm using the randomness of noise and basic brush strokes and things like that to coax the model into giving me things that I want, as you've seen in this video. So there are definitely times where you're sitting here like watching images get generated. That's true. But I guess I would say that's the in between time. Like what happens before and after that. before you were sitting there watching that image generate, you were the one who set the conditions for the generation. After the generation, you were the one who decided which generation to use, how to use it, whether you were going to use it to keep making more generations or photo bash or call it a finished piece of art. But the point is, you as the artist make that decision. So just because you're using generation to make these different pieces of the artwork doesn't mean that it's doing all the work for you. Like, as you can see, I have had to do a lot of work here just to get to this point, and we're not done yet. So that one right there looks a lot like they're doing a painting. That looks a lot like they're intently painting a picture of this guy. So I think that's probably going to be like, maybe that's the one. I still want to put him in a different pose. So let's see here. Let's reset that. Take a look at our cleanup work that we did. And there's like a few things I need to clean up here. I'll just go ahead and clean up that seam right there. So what pose should I put him in? I may just tell it that he's in a model pose, and then use denoising to do the rest. You could think of denoising like as a randomness meter. Like the more you denoise, the more random the output. It's a bit like that 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 device on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where it can the probability, the improbability machine or whatever, where it can just do things that have random levels of probability. That's kind of how I would describe denoising. Is like the the lower the the lower the denoising, the more probable. The higher the denoising, the less probable. Okay, so we've got him there, and let's see if we can think about like what pose we might want to put him in. Each robot is looking at the human model. The human model is in a model pose. Is striking a model pose. Let's try that. And we'll denoise at 65 is fine. Let's just see if we get something. See if we get something usable. I guess I have a lot of downtime to talk about things and to yawn into the microphone. I hope you find this process interesting. I'm not sure if I would sit and watch this, but maybe I would. Because I don't know if there are many like long form videos like this where you can watch someone's AI art process. And I think that's also, by the way, I think that's another thing anti-AI art people are ignorant about, is they may not be aware of the process, and because of that, their ignorance is what fuels their cruelty, I guess. But if you're aware of the process, if you're aware of like what goes into it, then you can become more understanding. If I saw a photo and all I thought was that the person just walked up and took a photo, maybe I would maybe I would have a low opinion of photography. But if I was able to see a person's process in how they take a photo and modify it and, you know, put it out there, then maybe I get more respect for the photo they've taken. I think I may need to bump up the denoise because it's not giving us like enough variety. But here's what it's giving us. Wait, did I use the right one? Yeah. Okay. He needs to stay in the foreground. This one has him like moving behind the canvases. Alright, we bumped up the denoise to 0.75. Let's see what we get. Well, we switched to a female model. It looks like a female android model. So as you can see, by bumping up the denoise, it's giving us a wider variety of things. So I'm going to interrupt it, and I'm going to bring the denoise back down to 0.7, and that splitting the difference should get us there. Although this is not bad, like having a having an android posing for other robots is kind of funny. Now I have to decide, do I want to have a human in that spot or do I want to have an android? Both seem good from a narrative standpoint. They're good in different ways. The human is good because it's like, here is humanity's role. AIs are going to paint us. The android is good because it's like, it's robots painting robots. Where's the human? You know, so they both like kind of have like a commentary piece of it. So I have to kind of decide which one do I want to say in this. What's the commentary I want to give? I think the commentary I want to give is that humans and AI are still working together, at least at this point. So having a human is probably good because it shows that there is a interchange of work going on where the human is posing and providing the aesthetic, you know, the form, and the AI is providing the rendering, which is really how AI art works. So I want to show how AI works in the background. But I suppose if I was doing that, I would have I would have humans behind the robots, like telling the robots what to do in more of like a collaborative fashion. I'd probably have the humans next to the robots, like adjusting, like the human would have a paintbrush and the robot would have a paintbrush. And the human would be painting things on the canvas and the robot would be like painting over those things or using the things the human painted as like their guide or something like that. That's probably a better way I would put it. There's one of the common things I see anti-AI art something somethings, and I won't say what, say is that you're just an order taker, or that you're just putting in an order for the art, and the art is and you're not doing art. You're just you're just telling a chef to make it, but that's really not true. That's not how it works. It is a collaborative effort between the human and the AI, because the human has to say what they want, and they have to decide whether or not the AI has given them what they want. And then there's, like I've shown you, there's a lot of fine tuning that goes into if you're making something serious, Like if you're just being a hobbyist and putting um, dog holding a balloon into Midjourney or something like that. Like, are you an artist? Yes, but like, are you a fine artist? Probably not. Like, you're probably not what you would consider someone who is like making art, but you've still made art. You just may not consider yourself an artist, and other people might not consider you an artist if you are not communicating something through that, if you're not like sending a message. But if you sit there and you think about your prompt, and what you write in your prompt has some kind of social commentary, and the output is something, you know, that communicates something, then yeah, you're an art. You've really made some art, actually. Like you've made art just as any other artist makes art, because what it ultimately comes down to at the end of it is the end people absorbing the end result, and that somehow changing them internally. So I like this one, but he's behind the canvases still. Might have to stick with this one. It's not bad. That one's a little stiff, but at least he's got his arm up. If you think about 3D CG art like Toy Story, that's very similar process. You're making something, you're telling the computer this is what I want, and then it renders, and then you sit there and you wait for it to render, and then when it renders, you look at the rendered product and you say, is this what I was looking for or not? And if it wasn't, well, you have to change things and you have to re-render, and you re-render and you re-render until you finally get the thing that you're trying to get to. So there's a lot of similarity between this and rendering CG art as well. But in CG art, of course, you might be doing 3D modeling, you might be doing animating, rigging and animating. Of course, there's voice work. So there's a lot of other things. It's not a one-to-one, but the process of that process of changing things, rendering, and then iterating is very similar. I don't know if I'm gonna get a better one than this one. suppose I could look at poses. I should look at poses. Um, human poses. I gotta find the names of them. Human pose names. Here we go. Yoga poses. That's not really what we're looking for. Could I have him in a yoga pose? It's so small I can't read it. Hmm. Okay, here we go. Need a standing pose. What if I said like, oh, whoa, what do we got here? A guy in jeans doing some kind of pose. I don't know. What if I said like runway model pose or something? Let's interrupt it and tell it that. Model is striking a runway model pose. Blue steel. We'll have him do Ben Stiller's Blue Steel. Oh, my How to Draw an Anti-AI Artist tutorial is getting a lot of views. It's probably making the rounds in the artist hate community. Because clearly, any criticism of bullying must mean that I hate artists. Even though I am an artist. No, sorry, I'm a hack fraud. I'm a hack fraud, not an artist. Alright, so this one's not bad. Now we've moved him fully into the background, which is fine. I mean, the robots would be able to just look sort of in that direction. He's like on some kind of piece of wood or something. I'm not sure what's going on there. Let's try. Let's try redoing him. Like this. Yeah, I'm not too worried about backlash. I only have 1.4K subscribers, and they probably already, most of my subscribers probably already know what I'm about after all the RoboCast posts I've made. So I figure if I lose some subscribers, then whatever, they can just go off and do their own thing. I don't really care. But then I'll pick up other subscribers who like my takes. So yeah, I'm not really worried about negative attention. It is what it is. If people don't like my takes, then they can go find some other YouTube channel to watch. That's quite simply how it works. Just don't give me attention if you don't want to. Okay, I think that's gonna work. But my channel is about curiosity. My channel is about thinking and about, I don't know, being an independent thinker and not yielding to the bullshit of the masses. You know, just because a lot of people think something is true doesn't mean it's true. There's a lot of people who think religion is true. If you're in a religion, there's a lot of people in other religions who think you're wrong. You're an atheist to all of the religions, but you're one religion. There's a lot of morons who voted for Trump. Fucking morons. Who've been manipulated or are just racist assholes. And there's a lot of people out floating around on the internet who are anti-AI art. Doesn't mean they're right. Just because there's a lot of them that like to brigade YouTube videos and Reddit threads and Twitter's. It's a cesspool on Twitter, or as I call it, jitter. But yeah, there's a lot of anti-AI morons on Twitter as well. But that doesn't mean they're right. It just means there's a lot of morons. There's a lot of morons running around out there. And those people would say I'm a moron. It's your opinion. Go find something else to do. Go find someone else to harass. As far as I'm concerned, if you're the type of person who's going into other people's YouTube videos and harassing them, you're the moron. I don't go do that. I don't go into other people's YouTube videos and harass them for decisions they've made. I just don't watch their videos. If someone's doing something I don't like, I just don't give them attention. That's quite simply how you deal with this kind of stuff. Not brigade like an asshole. Because all you're doing is just going in with the mob mentality. You're just going in with a pitchfork. That's not intelligent. That's not intelligent critique. That's just mob mentality. You're not adding anything to the conversation doing that. All you're doing is just showing how insecure you are. So we've got some female models now for some reason. Wouldn't it be funny if they were drawing a large life-size version of the posable wooden model? Do you know what I'm talking about? The model that you put on your desk when you're trying to draw someone in a pose. Would that be better than a human, I wonder? That would probably tell the story that the AI is learning. Because that's the kind of thing that you put when you're trying to find like a reference. What is this? Looks like the guy from Workaholics. I forget his name, but the guy with the floofy hair. I don't know what kind of pose that is. It's like talk to the hand. Talk to the hand because the rest of me ain't listening. The trouble is, like, this is a real center of interest. Oh, okay. All right. I think we're getting like a Calvin Klein looking kind of pose with the next one. I think that might be going in the right direction. Yeah, it's like a center of interest in the. I mean, we're gonna have RoboCast text. We're gonna have the logo somewhere on this, in the middle, and that's gonna be like a big center of interest. But like, there's gonna be this model posing in the background, and that's gonna take a lot of interest. I think that's okay. I think that's not bad. It would get pretty exhausted. Your hand would get pretty exhausted, your arm in that scenario, but at least he could like hold onto his hair or something to not tire his shoulder out. But yeah, any pose, if you're posing for someone who's painting, is going your body's gonna start hurting at a certain point. All right, I think I'm gonna use that one, number 87. We're up to our We've generated 87 images up to this point to get where we are. Let's go ahead and put that one in and clear our mask. Let's take a look at our details here. The hands are looking better. Yeah, that's not bad. I think that gets the point across, I feel like. So let's fix her outfit and her hair. I suppose in the near future I'll be doing these with like videos. I don't know, like I suppose it's not that far away where I will have like video podcasters and they will be talking to each other and it will seem like they're saying the things that they're saying in the podcast, which will be interesting. If I wanted to go through a lot of effort, I could do that now, but I have no desire to do all the effort. Like the tools need to mature first before I go to that extreme. But that's probably the next evolution of this will be actually having like video podcasters. I initially thought of doing like having my RoboCast hosts look more like AIs, like look like robots. But I couldn't really get to any robots that I felt like were approachable, friendly enough, whatever. I think whoever's making humanoid robots has their work cut out for them because if you make it too close to a human, then you have the uncanny valley problem. But if you make it too dissimilar from a human, then you can't relate to it. So there's some kind of balance that has to get struck where you can have empathy for this robot, but also it doesn't live in the uncanny valley and make it detestable. Okay, so we've already got the instructions for her. I think we'll crank this up to 0.75. Let's see what we get. We want blue hair and a black turtleneck. Alright, I don't think we're going far enough with the denoise. Oh, we can do an in-paint sketch here, I suppose. Let's just do in-paint sketch. It's pretty faster. Okay. So we will just sample her blue hair. Good enough. We got some in the back here. I was once fond of a girl with blue hair, and that was part of why I did this. I also wanted to do something that looked modern. And blue hair is pretty modern. Okay, and then we want to do pick a dark color. Let's just sample from his shirt. Another argument that I see is that AI art doesn't have soul. It doesn't have soul, whatever that means. But like, I do get kind of what they're talking about, which is that creative spark. But also, it's such a nebulous concept that how can you possibly say whether something has soul or not? And add to that, it's about the person who consumes the art, not necessarily about the person who creates the art. Because one man's trash is another man's treasure. Like, someone might create something and it might be absolute trash to 99 people, but one person might deeply connect with it. So it really depends on like what the art is, and that's going to influence how it's received. The audience matters, you know. So you might create some art and give it to one community, and that community might shit all over it, but then you might give it to another community and the other community might love it. That's just how it is. So, yeah, it's in the eye of the beholder. Community 1 might say that has no soul, and then community 2 might say, wow, I deeply connect with this. So, did it have soul or did it not have soul? That's a non-question. Like, there is no soul in this discussion. Like, that's not a thing. It really does come down to who's consuming it and what their perception of the art was, and that's going to determine, you know, the emotional connection that someone has to it is ultimately where the quote unquote soul comes from. Now, like, there are some pieces that are highly resonant with a lot of people. The Mona Lisa has stuck around because it resonated with a lot of people for some reason. So you could argue that some artwork is more resonant than other artwork. That would be true, and I would agree with that. But that has nothing to do with soul. That just has to do with a larger number of people identifying with it or getting something out of it. But you could probably I mean, if you could take a banana and duct tape it to a wall and someone would buy that for $1 million, you might say the vast majority of people wouldn't think that's art. But that person who bought it did. So, for whatever reason, that resonated with them. Maybe they were money laundering, who knows, but um, it's up to the person consuming it to determine if it has soul, if it's resonant or not. If you look at AI art and you say that doesn't resonate with me, then that's just the case. It just doesn't resonate with you. That doesn't mean it doesn't have soul, quote unquote, which is just a non-thing. It just means it didn't resonate with you. The subject matter or the execution or whatever didn't resonate with you. But you might have seen AI art that you didn't know was AI art, and it might have resonated with you. It's possible. At this point, it's definitely possible. So now what? Or what about the AI art that people have resonated with? What about that? So now what? Did that AI art have soul, but other AI art doesn't have soul? See, you're on kind of shaky ground there with the whole soul thing. There's not really a there's not really a clear way to say that. So I just did a generation that was too low on the denoise strength. So you can see it didn't render it. It did take a pass at it, but it didn't render it. So we're going to increase the denoise strength by, let's say, zero point 0.1. There we go. At least we got the hair. Now the shirt is pretty dark. And pretty flat. I think we're going to have to maybe give it more to work with. Let's take a look. Okay, so we'll use this one as our base. And we will, actually let's go back to InPaint. So we're back to InPaint. Reset, oh wait, we're not using that one, we're using this one. And we will InPaint the turtleneck here. And what we're trying to get to is shadows and folds and creases and light reflections and all kinds of nice things. Pattern, texture on the clothing. Now if it doesn't give it to us with the InPaint, we might have to give it a little bit of pixel data to sample from to get to our end result. Alright, so we were at 0.06. That should probably do the trick, but let's just find out. You know, the anti-AI art people, if you corner them, they have no answer to this question. So if this isn't art, what is it? They'll be like, it's just nothing. What? It's just nothing? What do you mean it's just nothing? It's just nothing. So what is it? Well, it's just nothing. No, but what is it actually? What is happening? You're stealing or something. What? What? Who am I stealing from? Oh, you're stealing from all the artists. What? How is this how is the work that I'm doing here stealing from anyone? I'm plumbing the depths of the latent space. I'm telling it exactly what I want, and I'm iterating to try to get to a final piece. I haven't stolen from anybody. This piece of art didn't exist before I made it. And there's no one that will come claiming it. There's no one who will come accusing me of taking their work. And there's no court of law that would hold up that I have stolen this from anyone. This is an original piece by me. Yeah. So, anti AI art people watching this, what am I doing right now? What is this? If this isn't art, what is this? There's no good answer. You have no good answer to that question. I know what the hyperbolic answers that they'll give is. It's an abomination. The religious answers. It's Frankenstein's monster. Okay. All right. You're not serious. Let's talk to the serious people about it. Huh. Okay. I got one that's not it's not high enough contrast. Maybe I need to tell it high contrast. Contrast. All it is gatekeeping when you at the end of the day. It's just morons trying to control other people. Like, you should know from looking at my channel, I am not a fan of fascism. And I'm not a fan of art fascism either. You can't just tell other people that their work isn't art. That's an asshole move. You're just being an asshole. It's not factually correct. It's just you being a jerk. So what benefit are you bringing to society there? None. What benefit are you bringing to other human beings? None. What benefit are you bringing to yourself? None. What benefit at all is saying any of that shit? No benefit to anyone. So why waste your breath? So just a complete waste. A waste of oxygen. You could be making art. But you're not making art. You're just complaining. I wonder why that looks so high contrast in the image gen and then low contrast when it gets generated. I guess I just have to keep iterating until it gives me high enough contrast. Alright, let's throw this one back in. And have it give me even higher contrast. Sometimes you have to do this that I'm doing right now, which is feed it in over and over again until it gets to what you're looking for. Because it's like each iteration it will get closer to what you're asking it for. Let's just take a look at this one. Oh, alright. So the next one should be even higher contrast. theory. Yeah, it is a little bit. We gotta get it to black though. Well, that one is. It's definitely increasing the contrast, but it's not giving us our black blacks that we want. Well, it's getting closer. It's just taking some time. I suppose if I bumped up the denoise, I could also tell it that she's wearing a dark black. Let's see here. The female podcaster is wearing a dark black turtleneck. That should get us closer. And by the way, if you've come into the comments section of this video to try to say, that's not art, go fuck yourself. Go find some other video to watch. I don't give a shit. Your opinion is the worst and sucks and is pointless and doesn't benefit anyone. And I have no problem being rude to you because you're being rude to me first. So don't be so surprised at the backlash. Don't be so surprised when I tell you to go fuck yourself. Because you were the one who came in and was a jerk. I didn't come into your video and tell you whatever you were doing wasn't art. So have the same courtesy for me. If you don't think it's art, I don't give a shit. Go do something else. Go pick your asshole. Go pick your nose. Go jump off a swing set. I don't care. Go do something else. Go do something productive. Go make some art. If I'm not making art, you go make some art. If I'm a hack fraud, then you go be an authentic artist. Because clearly I'm not, so that means the world is open for you and you have no competition. I might have to do a little photo P here to boost up. Oh, I could just use a little in paint sketch actually to finish this. I'll just in paint sketch with black. I think that'll solve it. All right, let's take a look here. See, the contrast looks good in the pre-generated image, but then when it generates, it looks washed out. That one's not bad. It's still washed out, but oh, okay. All right, we got to a gray one. That's pretty good. That doesn't look washed out. That actually has black blacks. I'll take it. That's the best looking one so far, and I'll take it. Okay. What's left? The RoboCast logo. That's what's left. Although this cup is really big. It's a mega gulp. Should I shrink the cup down, I wonder? I could pretty easily shrink it down with in-paint sketch, I suppose. Let's do that. So what we'll do is just we will sample from his shirt and paint over the cup, and then give it a new white top, which will just be light gray. Right there. Whoops. In theory, that should make the cup smaller, but we're going to find out if theory holds true to practice. Set it to 0.5. Now what we're hoping is going to happen here is that it will take that dark gray as indication that it needs to paint some more of his shirt there. And then the white hopefully will become the new top of the cup. And we'll have a smaller cup. This has definitely ended up being one of the more time-consuming pieces. There's a lot more going on in this one. Hey, look at that. We got a smaller cup. Let's take a look at our small cup. Not bad, not bad. Let's see what else it gives us. I noticed it made it a little bit lighter here. So let's see if we get one that continues the folds a little bit more. Oh, looks like I've got a seam to handle here too. You can see it right here. See that seam? It's right here. So here are two of our options. Cup A, cup B. Cup B looks more like a coffee cup. Let's see what cup C looks like. Probably stop it right here. We are at generation number 106. We've made 106 images to get to this point, plus two photo bashes so far. Okay. Do I care enough to change that bicep? Oh, we got a nice fold in the next one. There we go. Yes, but there's only one thing I would change with this one, which is a little mismatch. We'll do this. We'll call this our crease fixing pass. We'll do it in paint. And it's right here. This little mismatch kind of bothers me. So we'll do that. And does that bother me? There's a little bit of crease. There's a little bit of seam visible here. And then also we got to take care of these seams over here. So we'll just do this. And this is why I say you kind of have to inpaint along seams, contrast seams, because then you avoid problems like this. All right, let's take a look around. We got a few other seams we got to kind of fix right here. There's probably a few like in there. How's our top of the head looking? Pretty good. Got a little thing right here we got to fix. Okay, we got some seams right here I can kind of see around the microphone. Yeah, I haven't really microphones. It's hard to get them right on their own. You usually have to get them with the rest of the scene. Okay. There's also kind of an issue here and here, and a slight issue here. All right. Anything else? Anything else I want to fix? Oh, let's fix this. And let's also fix this. Okay. We'll keep it at 0.5. I think that should be fine. So the last question after I fix these seams is how are we going to put the logo in? I always like to do it in universe, like skeuomorphism. There's a fancy $3 word for you. But making it making it feel like it's part of the picture instead of just overlaid on top of it. Let's see how our cleanup version did. Okay. Yeah. Um Probably the only thing I'm going to fix though is there's still like an edge on the hands. Let's see what we get here. Okay, I actually like this version better. Number 110. Let's fix the edge of this. And the edge of the hands. Okay. pick the best version. Just looking for any kind of cleanup on that. See, that's a little cleaner. It's not perfect yet, but at least the sleeve is cleaned up. Let's see if we got a version that cleans up the hand. Probably not. So let's see. We go in for one more pass. Hopefully this is the last cleanup pass. Then we can move on to the logo. Let's see how this one came out. Oh, better. Definitely better. Let's see. We'll use that one. Okay. That's probably good enough. Maybe a little bit of, tiny bit of cleanup here. Okay. See how that comes out. See, the thing is, like, you can try to Photoshop this stuff, but unfortunately, even when you do that, you are you're gonna have difficulty replicating exactly the patterns of pixels that are being generated if you generate. What I mean by that is there's a depth of field here where certain things are in focus and certain things are out of focus, and the things that are out of focus at differing rates. So when you start to mess with pieces of the image, you inadvertently create new pixel patterns and it becomes obvious that it's been photoshopped. But when you do in painting, it's taking all the patterns of all the pixels around it and it's filling in those gaps like a content aware fill does. And that retains the patterns of how the pixels are organized. With some exceptions like those seams that I told you about. I haven't really found a way to not have seams, but more like a way to mitigate them so that it's not obvious that there are seams. Okay, that looks fine. Because most of this is just magician work. When you're doing when you're creating art, you're just creating illusions. Game design is the same way. It doesn't matter how it doesn't matter if a piece of geometry is completely broken except for the part that the player can see, you know? So, similarly, what matters most is that the viewer sees what you want them to see and doesn't see what you don't want them to see. Also, I think I'm going to fix this right here. So, brainstorm time. What would the logo look like? I mean, Obviously, it has to be like something on the glass. Oh, maybe it can be like a room sign. Yeah, yeah. What if it's like a black sign with white lettering? Let's try that. So the way that I do this, I typically do this with in-paint sketch, and I'll show you my process. First, you got to put the frame of what it is. So let's do a very dark frame. Think about this. Mm, yeah, maybe too tall. Sure. And then, and then I'll actually like go in by hand and draw the letters in a very rudimentary way. I'm just trying to give it the pixels it needs. So we got to go half and half. Let's just find the halfway point and make the C. C A S T. Okay. And then over here R O. It's a little tight, so hopefully it'll clean up the typography. It usually does. Can't move the letters around like I do when I'm just using a text tool. Okay, good enough. So we're just trying to get the general placement right, the general pixel information right. Now I'm gonna tell it what we're looking at here. A sign in the window reads RoboCast. We'll also make a little, like, we'll have it hanging up. So we'll do like some like metal or whatever's here. It's gonna be either like chain or something. All right, let's see how that comes out. Now we got it 50%. Let's see how that comes out. Okay, let's see how this turns out. Okay, it looks a little too much like my original. So now we're gonna increase the denoise. We'll go up to 0.6. So you can see it looks hand drawn in the one we just generated, but we don't want it to look hand drawn. We want it to look like it's been fabricated somehow. So we give it more leeway to do its own thing. And when we do that, it'll inevitably move towards something that looks more fabricated. Because a hand drawn thing wouldn't make as much sense in this scene. As for our little chains, I'm not sure. We might have to do those separately. We'll see if it decides to put them in. Okay, that one's looking still quite a bit like my original. Well, let's give it a few generations and see if it spits something out. Sometimes it's just a matter of waiting until it gives you one that's a little closer. Let's see here. Nope. Let's try going higher. 0.75. And let's change the prompt. A metal sign with professional typography in the window reads RoboCast. We're almost there. We're almost to the end. I can feel it. We are almost to the end of making this piece of non-art. I'm gonna just keep making art. The other thing is, I feel like it's a protest thing. It's just like the more people try to talk shit about it, the more it makes me want to create good art with it, because it just makes me want to prove them wrong. It has the opposite effect that they want. They want to demoralize me. They want to bully me, but that doesn't work. It just inspires me more. Because so if you want to stop me from doing this, just ignore me. If you want to leave trash comments, that's only going to inspire me to keep going. So think about that. It has the opposite effect from what you intended. But if you like what I'm doing, please leave a good positive comment. If you enjoyed this tutorial, behind the scenes kind of thing, I like to watch behind the scenes or how it's made type stuff myself. It's how I've learned a lot of things. Okay, so that one doesn't look, but the next one coming down the pipeline looks better. Okay, check this out. That one's not bad. Let's put that one back in. And let's put some, let's do, let's put our little, do I need chains there? Or should I just keep it there, like stuck to the window, kind of? I suppose I could have made, like, transparent letters, like vinyl or something, like a vinyl cutout. Whatever. This is fine. The typography's not perfect, but it's serviceable. You know, like the C and the O should be the same shape. But I can clean that up pretty easily now. Once it exists, it's easier to clean up. Okay, that's interesting. That has like sort of a bit of a fun typography look to it, which and you can see the reflection of like the metal. Honestly, that's almost probably good enough to go with. Yeah. Damn. That turned out pretty good right there. Okay. Hmm. Should I give her a coffee cup? Let's give her a coffee cup, and then we'll call it quits. I think we're just about done. They both have a coffee cup in front of them. So I had to give it a little bit of room for the shadow. This has a pretty wide shadow. So let's give it a lot of room to work with. And the top needs to be a bit more squared off. Yeah. And we'll 0.75, good. Let's run it. Gotta get her a coffee cup and probably call it quits. Call it a night. I hope this has been an enlightening experience for you. If you are anti-AI art, I hope you have learned something about the process. If you were neutral, I hope you've been inspired. If you're pro AI art, I hope you really liked the video and just saw it as, you know, more more interesting content around AI art. If you are just learning about the debate, there's a couple of subreddits you can go look at. There's an echo chamber you can look at called Defending AI Art. It is an echo chamber, but there's a lot of good content posted there. There's also a lot of echo chamber trash posted there. And then there's a subreddit called AI Wars, which is predominantly pro AI people, but that I think is because the anti AI side doesn't have much of a leg to stand on when they're outside of their echo chamber. I think we're going to have to use in-paint sketch here for this one. So we'll start with the shadow. And if you want to see some trash takes, you want to see what is going on in the anti-AI art world among people who are um, self-entitled um, persecution complex morons, in my opinion, then you can go to the artist hate subreddit, where you will find people with nothing better to do than spread hate. They say that they claim that the subreddit is supposedly calling out hate against artists. But that's not at all what it is. It is a hate subreddit itself, full of hateful people. And you want to talk about echo chamber. You want to talk about hive mind. Holy damn. There are a few hive minds more hive mindy than that subreddit. If you've made it this far in the video, you're probably not someone from that subreddit. Maybe you are. Maybe you're seeing the light. Who knows? Or maybe this is confirming your bias. I don't know. But in either case, I think it's good if you've stuck it out this long that you're learning and at least looking at what is going on. So for that, I commend you. There's few things that grind my gears more than bullying. Few things. Bullying just absolutely fucking grinds my gears. I have very little tolerance for it. And the bullies like to gaslight and be like, "Oh, what are you saying? What are you doing?" Calling you out. Calling you out for your bullying. That's what I'm doing. Alright. We gotta wait for this. Alright, there we go. We are gonna do 50, 60%? 60%. But yeah, harassing me isn't gonna do but galvanize me, because you think I haven't been harassed? You think I haven't been bullied? You think I haven't heard it all? Believe me, I've heard it all. And I don't give a shit. I'm still doing it. So, you want to bully me? I'll come right back at you, just as fiery. You want to bully other people? I'll come at you for that too. I don't give a shit. Other people want to be nice? Treat the bullies nicely. Nah, that doesn't work. Tell the bullies to go fuck themselves. That's what you do. Because they're not ready for somebody to fight back. They're looking for easy targets. They're looking for someone to be a victim. Well, I'm no victim. I'm here to dish it out just as much as you are. she got a small, he got a medium. That's probably good. But the shadow is looking needs a little bit of work. Tiny bit of work. But they definitely look like they came from the same place. She wasn't in the mood for as much caffeine as he was. That's the thing. Well, that shadow's... Is that looking better? The shadow looks a little bit better, I think. This still needs a little bit of cleanup. Let's clean it up. That one looks good. Clean this up too. A couple of little spots. We'll feather that out too a little bit. Hopefully we don't create any new seams. Let's find out. We're gonna do 40% for this fix. And I think we're just about done. Honestly, I like the cup better though on the other one. Let's see how this one came out. That one's got no lid on it. Let's see how this... Let's see... See, this one, the cup actually looks more like the original. Okay. That's the other thing I like is you can use AI to, like, put something else in the scene that already exists, you know? If there's a cup, you want to put another cup that's just like it into the scene, no problem. AI seems to have no problem with that because there's a good reference point. And then I think I'm going to also adjust that logo. Oh, this isn't the right logo. Damn. Alright, I've got to photo bash this. I didn't put the cup in the right one. Do we still have the drawing of the cup? We do. Let's see if I can put the cup in the right. This was the right one. Yeah, this was the right one. Number 124. Womp womp. Yeah, I kind of fucked that up. I could just photo bash, but yeah, I have a good cup too. I should photo bash it. Hmm. 133, huh? Okay. So pull the 133 in, and we'll pull in this one. Yeah, 124. Okay. Maybe a little tiny bit of healing brush here just to fix this one spot that I want to fix. Oh, is that on the right layer? Yeah, it should be. Good. A little bit there too. Maybe like right there. No. Right here. It's probably fine. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Just a little touch. All right. Oh. Okay. There's still the O looks a little janky there. What's going on? Oh, do I not have... Oh, I thought I had full opacity. Huh. What did I do? Okay. We've got the cups. We're gonna take one more pass at the um, at the logo. Wait, actually, we're gonna go to InPaint for this. Okay, and then we're gonna just do the logo itself. And since we've got like proper typography, it should now spit out like better typography. Alright. Here we go. We will do 0.6. It is almost joint o'clock. It's 4:20 somewhere. Kind of looks like the Sesame Street sign. See, that's what we had before, and this is what we've got now. See how the text looks a lot more like actual typography. Still a few things about it that aren't perfect, but it looks pretty good overall. Real life has imperfections, that's the other thing. So sometimes when I'm making something, I don't get too hung up on certain details because those little goofy details sometimes make things seem more realistic. I think this one's pretty good. I might stick with this one. $134. Yeah, 134 I think is the winner. Alright, I think that is going to be our final result for this. It's looking exactly kind of what I wanted. If you think about back to the beginning of the video, like what I was envisioning, I got there. Uh, Two podcasters sitting at a desk, table, whatever, in an art studio with black turtlenecks, although she's wearing kind of more of a gray. That's fine. We got our logo, we've got somebody posing, we've got robots painting, they've got some paintings on the wall inside that gallery. It's looking pretty sharp, it's looking pretty professional. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. If you decide to come to the comments and trash me or trash the video, expect me to call you out on it, call you a fucking asshole. Um, and I don't give a shit if you don't think this is real art. I really don't. It's falling on deaf ears. And your opinion sucks anyways, in my opinion. So if you don't like what I do, go find another channel. Unsubscribe, click off the video. That's all you gotta do. If you like this and you want more of my content, please subscribe. This week I'm thinking about taking a break from RoboCast episodes. I may put out a few more videos, I'm not sure. Or I may just work on RoboCast episodes for next week so that I have full 5 episodes. I'm thinking about doing 5 episodes on AI art, specifically on the different aspects of it, like what is a latent space, what are seeds, things like that. But I imagine just watching me like do this has probably taught you things about how to use some of these different tools. So yeah, give me a little bit of time to think about it. I've been cranking out like solid episodes every week for quite a number of weeks now. And I know I need to keep consistent with my upload schedule, but I also just really need a break. And I have a project I've got to work on, a paid project, which also involves some AI art, believe it or not, as well as some other things. So, yeah, stay tuned to the channel. Thanks to those who have stuck with me, or to my new subscribers. I hope you enjoy the rest of my content. My channel tends to be very curiosity focused. Also, I'm very interested in like armchair psychology. Of course, I'm interested in the arts. I've made music and posted it on here. I've posted my game design reel. I've posted a bunch of reels. And then, of course, I used to do a lot of things around personality typing, and looking into Carl Jung's stuff. So there's a variety of things for you to look at if you are interested in the brain and curiosity and thinking and learning. Those are the things I'm doing all the time. I'm always learning. And yeah, I mean, like, I guess I'll cap it off. It might seem to some that I am being a cocky bastard, but I've just had it. You know what I mean? That's all. It's all. Like, if you meet me in real life and we talk, I'll be a nice person. Don't worry. But it's people who forget that they're on the internet and there are real people behind the screen that piss me off. And like, that's I'll come back to them with a fire and fury, you know. So, but you know what? That's just, I guess that's how I've become conditioned. You know what I mean? Like, I've just had it with bullies. I've just fucking had it. So they're gonna get my wrath. But if you're not a bully and you're a nice person, hey, we'll get along just fine. Like, if you treat me like a decent human being, I will treat you in kind, and everything will be great. So thanks a lot for sticking with. It's kind of a long video, but hopefully the long form video has shed some light into how this whole AI art thing actually works if you dig into it and use it to make a composition. So I will see you in the next video. Cheers.